Hello everyone and welcome to episode 5 of Estate Planning TV. I'm your host, Christopher Small, and this is the internet's most passionate show about estate planning. Welcome. Pumped for this episode 5. It's going to be a fun one. Today we are here to talk about a subject that was really raised today at a potential client meeting that I had. And I think this is something that maybe kind of one of those common misperceptions, one of those, it's not a myth, but it's something that people believe to be the case that is not the case, okay? And today we're going to talk about the 3 limitations of wills, all right? Let's just dive right in. Let's talk about what they are. The first limitation of a will is that it does not eliminate probate, okay? Now, in Washington State, which is where I am right now, who knows where I'll be in the future, but in Washington State, eliminating probate is not always that big of a deal. The fees that are set for probate are not based on the percentage of the assets of the estate, which means probate fees are relatively sort of flat and relatively low, depending on how complicated the estate is. But it does take time. It does take money. It does take effort. It can be a pain in the butt. And so if you are interested in avoiding probate, then it can be a will not do that for you. The other thing to consider too is if you have property that's in another state, whether you live in Washington State or live somewhere else and have property in a different state rather than where you live, then you have to open up a probate essentially in each state that there's property in to get the property transferred. And again, while it's not an extremely complex matter, it does take time. It certainly takes a lot of money, and these things cannot be avoided if you only have a will. All right, so that's one, probate. Okay, that's one of the consequences or one of the downsides of a will. The second downside of having a will is no control, and that's where the topic came up today with a potential client. And it wasn't. And when I say control, I don't mean control in the literal sense. What I really just mean is making sure that the money goes where you want, when you want, and is used in the way that you want. Okay, so in this specific instance, you know, the potential client, he wanted to give something to someone and let them use it for a while, but if they ever got rid of it, then they wanted the proceeds of that thing to be distributed among some other people, and they wanted to do that with a will. And I said, well, you can't really do that. There's no control with a will. A will does one thing, and it does one thing really, really well. It tells the world who gets your stuff. Okay, that's the one thing it does. Once that person gets your stuff, it is theirs. Okay, whether it's a house, whether it's a car, whether it's cash, once they get it, it's theirs. And so, for some people, they don't care about that, and that's okay. But if you do care about that, if you want your things to be used in a specific way or for specific things, then a will cannot do that for you. All right. And then the third downside of a will is there's no protection in that same context. So a lot of people think that they do trust planning, for example, for control, when in reality it's the added protection that you get that does it for you. And a will gives you none of that. Let's say, for example, you have $100,000 and you want to give it to your kid. Okay, now your kid is an aggressive business person. Let's call them like, let's say they're Donald Trump. Okay, for example, on a smaller scale. And whether you like Donald Trump or not is not important for this. Just he's a business guy. So when you die, you catch your kid at a slump. Okay, they've just had to declare for bankruptcy, whether it's business protection or any other kind, and there are some creditors that are out that are coming after your kid. Okay, they want their money and they're going to try to get it from them if they want. With a will, what happens is when the time for distribution comes, that money, that $100,000, would go into your kid's account and right back out of the account to those creditors. And you know, some would say that's the way that it should be, but you know I wouldn't want my money that I've worked hard for, that I've saved, and that I've earmarked to be used by my kids for good, to just go to some other business. You know, I wouldn't want to do that. And with a will, though, you can't protect that, right? It's just like I said, once they get it, it's theirs, they own it. There's no protection from divorce. There's no protection from bad habits, right? Gambling, drugs, drinking, excessive spending. Okay, we're back. So the memory card was full, so we had to reset. But what I was saying was, okay, so let's jump right back in. 3 limitations of a will. We're talking right now about no protection. So, divorce, drugs, bad habits, shopping, gambling, drugs, bad business deals. That's what I was going to say. This is what I was going to say. If you want a good example of the way that people can really squander money with good intentions, there's this 30 for 30 episode on ESPN. It's about professional athletes. It's called Broke, okay? And it talks about the terrible business deals that they go into with good intentions, but they're looking for extremely high returns in an extremely short amount of time. And what they end up doing is basically just giving all their money away, okay? With a will, you can't protect against that at all. You're gonna give cash to people and it's gonna get blown, basically. All right, so if you wanna have a will, that's great. If you don't have much to give, that's great. If you trust your people, that's great. If you want some of these other things, though, you're gonna wanna consider just basic trust planning at least, all right? And again, the purpose of this show, as always, is to inform so that you're making the decisions that you want to make based on having all of the knowledge, all of the information that's out there so that you can do what's best for your family, best for yourself, and best for your goals. All right, that is it for today. Can't wait to see you again next time. Bye.